can't be about one person or one cult of personality. It has to be about the ideas of spreading that truth. The lies need to be shared every single day from this machine, incessantly, every hilltop. And all we need to do is like those little torches of freedom that people will pursue. They will follow because they are starving for it, because everybody knows that we live in an upside down world. They just don't know why. And they keep tuning into the television the same way that they tuned in to Fauci to get answers about the COVID vaccine, who was lying to them the entire time. And we know that because in his internal communications, he even said, oh yeah, masks aren't going to do anything, like a month into the pandemic. And then he went on national television for months on end. Wear 2 masks, wear 3 masks. Maybe crawl on your hands and knees to avoid mouth-to-mouth contact with other individuals or breathing in their air. Right? It was insanity. People believed that they listened to the most absurd of lies because of the cult of personality that was essentially the hysteria of that moment. We have to help the people because we are all living in hysteria day after day because they keep pushing endless chaos, because amidst the chaos, like, what was it, Littlefinger said in Game of Thrones, amidst the chaos, there is a ladder. They are climbing it. And as they are climbing out, they want us to be the crabs in the bucket that are stuck, unable to do anything about it. So please, again, avoid the cults of personality. No one person is going to save the day. We all have to be our own little renditions of Paul Revere, and if we do, we can let them know that someone is coming. It's not the British this time, although I guess you could say it's the London central bankers. But they are coming for everyone, and they're coming for everything, and the thing that they fear the most is just us going town to town, knocking on the doors of our friends and our family, and saying, did you know, ... That's kind of weird. So please, screenshot everything, take everything, get any bit of data, but then just yourself, in whatever little way you feel comfortable, just try to make a difference. And if we all do it, to quote Michael Jackson, wherever he may be, the king of pop, and also perhaps one of the original kings of quote-unquote anti-Semitism with one of his songs, right? Heal the world, make it a better place for you, for me, the entire human race. We are going to do it. We're going to make the world better, and I'm going to be in a very happy place when we arrive there, hopefully in a very distant or not so distant future with all of you guys. So Ryan, with that, back to you, my friend.
God bless you, Ian. It's always such a pleasure, man. That's why I tell you, when you guys hear, when Ian goes on a rip, man, he's just on absolute fire. You gotta, and you're always inspiring people. I see Dee Dee's hands up. I see Gary's hands up. So, Dee Dee, you want to jump in there first, and we'll jump over to Gary.
Thank you, Ryan. I just had a quick question. Ian, you dropped so many truth bombs that it was hard to keep up, but I'm going to try. I'm going to go back to the beginning. So you made a comment about, that Candace, it kind of just seems like you were kind of against Candace a little bit and more kind of going to Fuentes, and I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on kind of him supposedly buying out, not supposedly buying out, and I don't know, I don't even know that I've asked you, what do you think of Candace's work?
Yeah, and look, that's why I wanted to make sure no accusations on any of those people. I saw Ryan's video that he put out, and I know it was also framed as a question. I think he said I don't want to try to paraphrase because I can't remember the exact way, but this idea that he has gone mainstream, again, I think it is only a good thing for our cause. It gets people that perhaps are very, very averse to this concept. If nothing else, they're aware of the name. I saw a poll that came out that actually said that Fuentes might have more support for a presidential run than AOC, which I found very, very humorous. But he's a controversial character, and he and Candace Owens, they're both talking about these issues. I think Fuentes, for what it's worth, does it in a far more eloquent or elegant fashion. But Candace is participating in the discourse. The comment that I made around maybe questioning both, again, Fuentes is primarily his rise to prominence, which it feels just conveniently timed, I suppose. On Candace, it would just be that she every now and then dabbles in conversations, which, especially on the JQ, she's talked about the subject, which can be dangerous because she doesn't really know it in and out, right? And if you're going to talk about these things, it's extremely important to have all the data because it's such a hot, sensitive subject. It's like you're handling, a nuclear weapon, right? And if you discuss it improperly, everyone around you immediately looks at you like you're persona non grata because obviously, well, you couldn't address this one question, so therefore you don't really know what you're talking about. You're just a hateful bigot. And Candace every now and then, she'll talk about the JQ. She went down the whole Frankists and all this other stuff. It's the Khazars, right? And so some of it has this weird thread that she makes that is both, let's say, an accurate presentation of information versus sometimes things that maybe look a little clickbaity. And then every now and then she'll say things like Peter Thiel and a couple others. And I saw the video of it. I thought it was just funny. She brought up 3 pictures of 3 individuals, and she was like, these are not human beings. These are obviously reptile alien people. And for a second, I was thinking, this can't be a sincere clip, so I had to actually look up and make sure I wasn't watching AI or something.
Well, I'll back Candace on that. Those are fucking some weird-ass reptiles.
Peter Thiel is a weird-looking dude.
He's
right?
a fucking anti-Christ, dude. She's right. You poke him in the neck, he won't fucking bleed. I don't know if he will.
He's a weird-looking guy, and the reptile, like his name being an anagram for that, that is bizarre. But nonetheless, it's one of those things. And so again, these aren't shots at either of them. I think both of them are doing good work. We could go into actually, I'll throw this out. The one thing that I find, and I think I've shared this in the space, I don't know if it was this one, the one thing that I find suspect amongst maybe I don't want to say a C, but amongst a puddle of things that I could inquire about Candace Owens, the one thing is that she's only on 2 occasions ever engaged with anything that I've done on this app. And that is not me in any way saying that she's a subversive because otherwise she would, because I'm interested. No, that's not what I'm saying. Instead, it's because the only 2 times that she ever did engage with me was when I was a teeny tiny little account and I shared a screenshot where AI had basically said that her husband, the farmer family, was Jewish. And I shared that out to my audience of a couple thousand people, whatever it was. I'll put it in the purple pill if anybody wants to read through it. And then she responded to it. And so I looked around. And nobody else had really talked about that subject. Nobody had, I guess, inquired AI because they've come just that far out of the fringe of being a nerd. But either way, I looked into the subject, I shared it, and then she responded. And what's perhaps even weirder is that months later, when I then used her response, let's say, in response to a different thing, she once again came back to it. Now, Candace Owens obviously has a team of people that I presume assist with some of her activities on X. They look for things that they think she should engage with, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing I find suspect is that fact that somebody or something found that to be such a maybe interesting or controversial subject that she felt the need to reply to it. Again, it's not an accusation of anything. Rather, it's just somewhat unusual, right? I mean, I comment on Donald Trump and Andrew Tate and all these things all the time. I don't ever expect them to respond to any of them. But if they did, it would make me scratch my head and say, what is it about that was so significant that it merited their time or attention? So I'll just throw that out. Again, not an accusation of anything. I found it rather interesting.
Gary, jump up in here, brother. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, a couple things. Well, Ian, best way to find out where the fish are is throw a little bait around. I just wanted to say something to the audience, which was 2 things that were said over the last hour. Not everyone is going to be able to be in a position to do what Ryan, Ian, or whoever's doing. Okay, so there's 2,000 people in here. I'm just going to put my little business, economics, strategy hat on. Those of you in the audience that are, receiving some benefit, even if it's entertainment or broader education on how the world's working, like, there's a lot of energy in sending these guys $10, okay? Subscribe to them, put some jet fuel in their engine and let them continue to expand so they're not having to constantly grovel for how they're going to make their next, their next event, the next trip. These are always better in person. The more we support these guys, this does not look, the enemy has lobbyists. Don't send me any money. I'm not pitching anybody. But like for Ryan and anyone doing this, okay? support with your fucking energy or go support the other side. Because really, you're getting outplayed, they're cheating, and they have a bucket of money. So, guys, really love you guys all. Thank you very much.
Man, Gary, you always gas me up, brother. Thanks so much, man. Couldn't have said it better. Gary's showing my subscription for me. I didn't have that on my bingo card for today. Thank you, Gary. God bless you, man. Let's go. All right, let's jump over to the next hand in the row. We got John Doe. How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Maze, CC, thanks for having me. Gary fan, Ian fan. Anywho, I want to bring up something that Maze brought up a little earlier, and I don't think that I've heard anybody say this. And Maze, I don't even know if you realize what you said, but you were talking about the videos that everybody took on that day. If I'm not mistaken, not even a week later, they were talking about geofencing churches and things, right? If you can geofence, you can manipulate. Am I correct? Just throwing that out there.
Well, geofence technically means that, like, they put, like, a perimeter around it, let's just say, I don't know, a zone, and anything that goes in that zone, they know that, like, let's say that zone's a bank, then they can kind of tag anybody that goes to that bank. Or if they know that zone's a church or whatever kind of church, and they would know, like, because of the GPS, that their phone entered in that zone. So, in a sense, it's kind of setting that perimeter and capturing, let's just say, whatever the data is from the phone, so it's able to market to it. Now, when you're saying they could manipulate, I guess in terms of, you know, them having access backdoor into people's iCloud, I don't know. But I will say that they would be able to identify in that area, like the university, all the people there that day. And so it would just kind of leave the question as to whether or not they would be able to have backdoor access to all of their cloud information to delete it.
Thanks, Maze. You're the best. You're the best, Maze. Let's go over to our boy John down there. John, jump up in here, homie.
Hey, Ian, I'm wondering what you think about 9/11 and World Trade Center 7, the supposed fire debris that burned for 7 hours of office furniture that collapsed that massive structure. I'm just wondering, what are your opinions on 9/11? Because the amount of people that died as a result of 9/11 in Iraq, Afghanistan, etc., in the millions. So I'm just wondering, what are your speculations? Will 9/11 truth ever come?
So, will 9/11 truth ever come out? Yes, it's coming out little by little by little. It's getting to more and more people. The good news is there's a growing base that certainly suspect that something was done in way of an inside job or something along those lines. There's certainly people out there that are experts on the subject, and I agree with most of what Ryan Dawson has done on that day. I think he has some wonderful documentation that I strongly recommend anybody who's curious about it goes and watch. The one area that I do really disagree with him on is Building 7. And if he's listening to this at some point in the future, I'm sure he's going to say that idiot has no idea what he's talking about. And
Ryan Dawson is fucking nuts.
She's back and better than before.
That's what I'm saying.
Weird as fuck, bro.
And, well, I didn't know you were going to do
Another round in a lone shooter. There's some other shit that he was saying earlier.
Yes.
Fuck, bro. How do you get here?
Yeah, he has some, and that's the thing. I like a lot of what he talks about. I think he really researches a ton of it. But he has this theory that Building 7, that there's nothing weird about it. And I look at it and I say, I don't know how you arrive at that conclusion. Like, the building, and I've seen the footage of it, it clearly looks like controlled demolition.
Wait, Ryan Dawson says that Building 7...
I shouldn't say that with absolute certainty, but if I'm not mistaken, and somebody please correct me if I'm incorrect on this one, but that's what I've heard. I feel like in other
dude,
spaces.
that's so funny because when this Charlie Kirk shit started going down, he was like like adamantly like messaging me back and forth with me about like sending me pictures, and I'm like, all right, bro, like, I do a bar. I was like, listen, dude, we're just not gonna agree on this, all right? And he was trying to convince me that like Tyler Robinson was this trainee lone shooter, like basically like you're defending Antifa. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do you get here, bro? I thought you were one of us. I thought you were over here like, it's the fucking Jews, and you're over here like, well, no, it's not. I don't know. I couldn't get there with that guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ryan takes a more nuanced approach than I think perhaps Truth Teller and I and a couple others would go down the path of, right? That there's something else going on. He also, we would disagree on race and kind of the racial connection of the, let's just call it the Jewish group or empire or people. But yeah, when it comes to 9/11, to that question that was asked, I do think the truth is going to come out around that day, that event. Obviously, it was an atrocity. I do think Building 7 was clearly controlled demolition based on what I've seen, based on the evidence, the support, the idea that there were...
Admission, Ian. He admitted it. He said he'd pull it, right?
The pull it quote, and Ryan again can share the context around that. And I think perhaps based on at least what I've heard from him and a little bit of research on that specific quote, I don't think that one's necessarily relevant, but the video footage certainly looks beyond funny. The idea that it was a building fire that was a consequence of some of the adjacent rubble from the other two towers, it just seems really unbelievably difficult to believe that, especially given all the other things that we know. And you can go down the different explosives in the building. We can go through the team of our students and all the other pieces of the puzzle, right? But the thing that we know with absolute certainty at this point is that something was off. The official narrative makes virtually no sense. If you want to buy into that, subscribe to the fact that somebody just happened to find a passport from one of the pilots at the base of the rubble. Like, I mean, try to imagine that. Like, two giant buildings have collapsed, and this guy just happens to show up, looks down, he's like, oh, look at this and amongst all the rubble, all the things, the broken bodies, right, that you would probably presume were there, along with all the other nonsense and chaos and fire. And he's just like, oh, a passport, curious. Let's see who that belongs to. I guess the guy just, flying the plane, he just rolled down the window with like one of those crank handles on a 1980s vehicle before throwing it out of the driver's seat of the plane, right? It's crazy to believe that. You can also go down all the other elements that are super suspect. The fact that if I'm not mistaken, he was the New York, I don't want to say the chief of police, maybe it was the Harbor Police or something, but the guy who went to Israel like 2 or 3 weeks prior to 9/11, he got a $250,000 grant that was never repaid. Like, there's all these different pieces of the puzzle. We were lied to. I believe it was Israel. I think Building 7 was certainly controlled demolition. I think people are starting to notice the patterns, and the scariest piece of all of it is that the clean break memo, it basically foreshadowed 20 years of conflict that was fought for and paid for by the American people for no benefit of Americans, for what it's worth. And some clown put up the other day a comment saying that the U.S. funding and support of Israel is measly. It's only a ... I went back and I challenge anybody to go do this. Go ask Grok the total expenditures of the U.S. government over the last 20 years. It gave me $70 trillion. Then ask how much of that was spent fighting wars and supporting, via donations and other endeavors, the Middle Eastern effort. It gave me a number that basically said 12% of all federal expenses over the last 20 years have been to the benefit of, let's just call it, the Middle East. And who is it benefiting? It's not Iran. It's not Egypt, although you could say that they get something. It's for the Greater Israel Project. And so I bring that up and I round that out just to say that 9/11, I believe, was a false flag attack that was staged by a cabal that is largely fighting for the interest of global Jewish whatever and for Israel, and that the United States has basically gone broke. It's been completely demoralized. It has lost its standing in the world. It has become an embarrassment on the global stage. And all at the expense at the end of the day, not just of the present that we all live in, but a future where the U.S. no longer can be Team America World Police like that funny movie by The South Park creators, who, oh, by the way, yes, they are Jewish. And in the Book of Mormon, which they also produced, it has a song that is literally F you God, for what it's worth. To just round this whole thing out. That's where we are. 30 or 40 years ago, the United States was largely a rather homogenous, white, largely Christian nation where things worked pretty well. And today you have individuals celebrating materialism, vanity, hedonism, and going out on Broadway so they can watch a show where F you God is the laugh of the town. That's where we are. We essentially quasi-live in hell. But we are going to live in heaven once we're able to get rid of whatever this entity is, whether you want to prescribe it to a religion or to a nation state or a race of people, whatever. We're going to make the world better. We're going to go back to something a little bit healthier, a little more traditional. And in doing so, we'll basically get to an economic, a spiritual, a physical, and a financial set of calories and protein that is healthy for everybody, rather than the junk food that is basically the McDonald's that we eat, the McDonald's that we consume via Netflix and YouTube and all the other garbage that's fed to everybody that demoralizes you. It makes you fat, lethargic, unhealthy, stressed, anxious, and you then satisfy those problems with SSRIs, alcohol, drugs, whether legal or otherwise, and everybody just endures another day of this. It's going to come to an end. We're going to go back to meat and potatoes, both spiritually, physically, and nutritionally. And in doing so, we will get rid of the sick empire that brought 9/11 that, yes, I do believe is ultimately going to come out. And as it does, we'll all move away from the junk food society that we've been living in my opinion anyway, largely because of the same set of interests that blew up those buildings.
No, Ian, I think you're 100% right. And it's getting put out there at a level that we've never seen before. You know, like Sean Ryan, for example, right? Like, I think over the last 2 years, like, where the fuck did Sean Ryan come from? How did this guy get this military, right? Candace is talking about the military. Sean Ryan's another one. So Sean Ryan is continuing to platform Sarah Adams, right? So Sarah Adams is like this fat slob chick. She's the one who tried to tell you. She went on the Sean Ryan podcast telling us about how Al-Qaeda's in our country. Like, bitch, no fucking shit, dude. They opened our fucking border. Why the fuck wouldn't Al-Qaeda be here? Everybody's fucking here, including Al-Qaeda, right? Like, you're not breaking any news, sweetheart. She's just fat, ugly. Like, she's not a honeypot. She couldn't be a honeypot. Like, if this is the only chick that you're like, yup, yeah, she definitely is not a fucking honeypot. That's not fucking possible. This fucking Charlie Lumpin over here. Like, so now she's over again. So she came on there and tried to tell you that if you believe that Building 7, right, was a terrorist attack, or if you question Building 7 collapsing, you're actually helping Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda knows that, and they're going to use that to basically radicalize people in our own country to try to turn them against the government. Because if you question Building 7 collapsing, you're actually helping Al-Qaeda, right? That's what she went on the Sean Ryan podcast and said. And then today she's back again, and it says Hamas is refusing to disarm. They are blaming people for being spies, burning down homes, and we've seen the public executions, right? So she's going on about these public executions and the fucking, like, the spies, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, really, bitch, who the fuck is this girl? She's some fat white chick, and what? She's like, where does she get her intel from? Like, she's not in the CIA anymore. She's not leaving the country. So does she have, like, what, ground source over there? Like, this fat bitch is this one that's like, I don't know. I just feel like she's just constantly shilling shit for Israel and trying to lay the groundwork for whatever fucking false flag narrative is coming next, which I feel like is coming, and I just want to kind of keep warning people about that. But I'll quit yapping. I'll jump over to you. Who we got up here? We got Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate the space and everybody's energy and perspectives. I've been doing this a long time, so it's great to see people engaging like this. It really is. I wanted to mention one thing that Candace said, that she kind of really breezed through it, that if you don't listen for it, you'll miss it. And she referenced the security team not applying first aid to Charlie. And she mentioned, I think she said that she could see that they weren't doing anything meaningful for him. And so, it's really interesting to watch today's episode and see how she just kind of slipped that in there and moved on. So, for what it's worth, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was a major revelation that I had not heard up to this point that deserved more sort of attention than it got. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, and I had a kind of a back and forth with Sam today online. I was kind of hoping he'd be back by now because I'd like him to hear my sort of counter to what he was saying about the exploding mic theory. And I won't dwell on it too long, but I just think that that particular theory has a lot of meat to it for a lot of different reasons, and I really don't think we can dismiss it as quickly as Sam has, because we don't have an autopsy report, which is the only way to really confirm that it wasn't that.
Why do you post every
The
day?
other thing is, I wanted to bring up is that whoever was recording sound off of that loud mic, was it the videographer that was standing right in front of him, or, I mean, presumably TPUSA has that recording from the loud mic, unless it just was an exploding device, and then in that case there wouldn't be any audio from it. But the other thing I wanted to mention also is that if there was an explosion at the lavalier microphone, that sound would have been transmitted through the speakers, through the handheld mic that Charlie was holding, and also the microphone that was being used to ask questions. And so, a lot of the talk about, where did the sound come from, aside from the reverberations off of the buildings and all that, the speakers probably contributed to the confusion. If you were further away from the explosion than the speakers were. And so, anyway, for what it's worth, I wanted to throw those things out there and to point out that there's so much circumstantial evidence that supports the exploding lav mic theory that I really do think, and it speaks to what Ian was saying, the cult of personality. I really respect Sam. I love his presentation, and I don't want to, cast any shade on him because he works hard, and I think he's tremendously intelligent and perceptive. But in this case, I disagree with him, and I just wanted to put that out there and keep that theory alive until there's something else more. Sam. There's Sam. I see him now. I just got in. What I miss? I just was the devil himself here. Right? Nothing important. Ryan says, "Okay, I'm out." I literally just got in. I have no idea what's. I heard my name as I got on.
I let him say it because he was talking about the exploding mic, so I just let him go. I don't feel like going down that rabbit hole.
No, because I'm poquito retardito, so I'm just a little retarded. All right. So I just wanted to let you know, Ryan, that I sent you a video. It was a TikTok I just saw tonight, and it's about 10 seconds long, and so I recorded it and sent it. I put it on here in the comments, and I sent it to you, private message, and I'm just trying to get it out there because it shows a bullet coming between his knees up from the ground, and you can see it hit the t-shirt and blow off the necklace and go up into his neck. And so I know the trap door is to the left of him. I saw your old post on that, but someone could have gone down the trap door and put something like made a place to where they could, like dug a hole or positioned something there where they could shoot Charlie from underground. Because the first thing Candace.
Well, they wouldn't need to do that though. They have drones that are the size, literally the size of like a thing that fits in your palm. They could easily flown a drone, and they had the little drone the size of a fucking quarter, put a bullet through his head from anywhere at any point. So.
Well, look at the video. It actually shows the bullet hitting the T-shirt.
But you can't film that. You're saying, look at a video that's filming at 30 frames per second. Okay, let's just do this simple math on that. If you're filming at 30 frames per second and a rifle's shooting at 15 feet per second, that means that in a single frame, like you have 30 frames in a photo, 30 frames per second, right? That's what almost every camera's filming at. In that individual frame, right, if you are moving one frame by frame, that's 1/30th of a second. In 1/30th of a second, a bullet is going to move 45 feet, traveling at 1,500 feet per second. Let's go. Okay. Say the handgun is 1,700 or 700 feet per second. Then you go, okay, well, so then now you're 25 feet of movement. Do you understand where I'm going with this one? Like,
I do. Do you think people are making up videos and putting bullets in them just to fool people?
It's not bullets. You're like, oh, it'll be. I've seen 2 frames, and like you can't stop a bullet in a frame. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it is mathematically impossible.
Yeah. Well,
like look at the Trump shooting, right? That person who took the bullet of Trump when Trump got shot, right? Mm-hmm. And you see it, it's a streak, right? Yeah, that guy's camera settings were shooting at like 128,000th of a second. So that would be like shooting at 128,000 frames per second. Right? That's how fast the shutter speed. I've been down that rabbit hole. I've seen them all.
Seen it already?
Yeah, so I'm just telling you, it's not possible to film a bullet traveling at, you just can't. It's just not feasibly possible. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's too bad because it looks like something. But all right.
All right, thanks. All right, who's up next? We got
Mike's hands up here.
Blake. How's the Rollin Wood, Blake?
I'll be really quick. So thanks for the mic, Ryan. Your spaces are great. I'm usually in the listeners. Don't like to come up, but there's something I wanted to, because there's so many truth tellers here. Just wanted to throw something out there. So I think it was yesterday, Godfroy had a space on 3i Atlas. If you want, I can share that space. I recommend everyone to listen to it if you missed it. But there was something that was mentioned and it got me curious. So I did some research, and it there was like 4 big tech CTOs or chief product officers that were directly commissioned as a lieutenant colonel in our U.S. Army Reserves. So that is really strange. I wonder if you guys have something on it. So one was Shyam Sankar. He's CTO of Palantir. Then there's Andrew Bosworth. He's CTO of Meta Platforms. And then Kevin Weave, Chief Product Officer at OpenAI. And then Bob McGraw. He was former Chief Research Officer at OpenAI, and then later he was advisor at Thinking Machines Labs. So they were all 4 of them were made Lieutenant Colonel, which is really weird. And so Godfroy was mainly talking about how they're gonna bring in like control and everything through the force, the army and everything. So what do you guys think? Curious.
Go ahead, want to take that one?
Sam?
Oh, I didn't hear. What now? Sorry, somebody was calling me on the other line just then. What?
Okay,
there was 4 CTOs or chief product officers of like technology companies like big tech, and so CTO of Palantir, CTO of Meta Platform, of OpenAI, and Thinking Machine Labs. They were made directly, they're commissioned as Lieutenant Colonel in U.S. Army Reserve. So just curious, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't like it at all, to be honest. That they're more openly and overtly militarizing the social media platforms. And this is the theme that we've talked about in the past on this space, that Twitter is not the free speech, open communication, innocent, free speech platform that you think it is. It's a militarized intelligence operation. That many people are taking advantage of and utilizing, and that's just under the surface on that. So just to be quick and brief, yeah, it's troubling, and I don't like it at all.
Blake, jump on here, brother.
What's up, everyone? All right, so first off, I posted something, a couple things, but one thing in particular, down in the chat, it is the trapdoor. Stop talking about it. It's not even in line with where Charlie, it is around the table, and it's right in front of a fuck ton of people. Stop talking about the trapdoor, okay? Look at the chat right now, and just look for yourself at how fucking impossible what you're thinking or describing. Like, walk through that, okay? That is a screenshot of a video that was taken by Christian Overton, who was right there on the front row with his son. The fucking trapdoor was right there. Nobody went down the trapdoor. The trapdoor didn't fucking move. It's impossible. Stop talking about the fucking trapdoor, please.
Thank you, Blake. I put that up in the nest for everybody, in case you have trouble finding it. It's just insane. And I'm sorry, we do have to be honest about some of these theories. We entertained some of them for a while we're collecting data, but now we're triaging and sifting through the data, and we're getting rid of the stuff that doesn't work. That's what we're doing, right? We're trying to narrow our focus and focus our resources. And we're not stopping it. If you want to keep going after the trapdoor, have at it. Like, I agree with Blake.
Just start your own space. Just start your own trapdoor space, and don't come on here and crush the vibe. Okay, second thing, and Sam, dude, I love you, dog, but I'm gonna do a minor dissent, okay? And Ryan, don't hate.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so it's not necessarily the lava mic. Okay, I am on the necklace. Okay, and let me just explain a little bit of a backstory to it, okay? And my one only dissension from Sam's wonderfully put together video, it is the fact that the shirt and necklace are moving in multiple frames with the absence of a wound until the shirt comes down and the wound appears. That does not make a bit of sense on any sort of level, and I have tested this out this past weekend with a few of my buddies, one of them of which went to the same sniper school that Gary went to, okay? And I'm telling you right now that the absence of a wound in all of those videos prior to the necklace and shirt jumping off his body is impossible, okay? And I understand there might be a question of different frame rates or whatnot, but in every single demonstration on a cavitation illustration, there is a blowback of the skin, whether it's a gel block, a piece of meat, whatever it is. You don't have the neck or whatever you're shooting at completely untouched, but everything else around it move. That's impossible, and we tested this out. We're making a video, and I'm telling you, I'm going to go even harder. I just wanted to see if it was going to be worth my time in looking at, because I've been talking to Gary Melton about it, and I don't know what his time frame is on it. Well, I got moving real quick on it, and I just happened to be out in BFE over the weekend in Colorado, and so we tested it out, okay? And it was absolutely shocking, okay? So with that, Ryan, with your blessing, I would like to play just a 1-minute video of the pastor Frank Turek with an interview. And everyone, I want you to listen to exactly what he is describing to Megyn Kelly, and Megyn Kelly, this expert litigator, lawyer, interviewer, did not think to push back on this. Please listen to this.
And then they roped off the vehicle that we took out of there as a crime scene. I don't know why. It wasn't part of the crime scene, really. So we couldn't get into the vehicle until the FBI cleared it. And it so happened that Charlie, in the back seat below him, between these two bucket seats, was my computer bag. So everything, I couldn't go anywhere. My wallet was in there. I wasn't going anywhere anyway, but I had to go in and get that out. And so when they finally cleared it, I got into the car and I pulled out my bag, and draped over my bag was Charlie's necklace that had a cross and medallions on it. And I had heard they were looking for that. And so the cop was like, "Oh, we've been looking for that." I said, "I got it." So I just took it.
I don't understand this. I saw the necklace.
Okay, does anybody want to take a stab at the fucking massive problem?
Yeah, I will, Blake. I will. And I'm glad that you brought this up. This is actually, Blake has just brought up many, many important points, some of which I wanted to bring up too, so I'm glad you brought them up. He talks about the medallions. And number one, there's a lot of problems. Like, why didn't the FBI find the necklace?
The FBI? Are they the top dog of law enforcement? They just cleared the vehicle, and then all of a sudden, the necklace that exploded off his body is somehow in there. There's a reason that they keep talking about the fucking necklace, and it's because they want you to think it's still in existence, when in fact, I think it exploded.
Okay, well, let me address that, Blake. He's bringing up some really great things, and I don't have all the answers for this either, so let's explore it. So there are inconsistencies in the necklace story. Let's start at the beginning. Erica Kirk says that the medics ripped it from his body. Now, I'm not saying she lied about that. Obviously, she wasn't there, so whatever she's repeating, she's been told by somebody, right? So she says that the necklace was torn from his body by the medics when they were, tending to him. Of course, we can see from the video that that's not true. It's blown apart off of his body. That we can see that. That's number one. So that's not true. Or it's an inconsistency, let's call it. The next thing is this whole Frank Turk debacle, the FBI doing the vehicle, not finding the necklace, but then Frank Turk finds the necklace in the vehicle with medallions, right? He says it's got medallions on it. Here's the problem. The necklace that Erica Kirk holds out her SUV that we're led to believe is the same necklace that Charlie was wearing doesn't have any medallions on it. That's number one. Number two, people have found old pictures of Charlie wearing a cross necklace, and it doesn't have any medallions. So we have several inconsistencies. We have Erica saying it was removed by the medics. That's not true. We have Frank Turk saying it has medallions. That doesn't seem to be true. Nobody's produced the actual, an actual verified, this is the necklace with the medallions. There is no such picture or image in existence. The images we do have, there's two competing images. Neither have medallions. And then there's this whole odd, bizarre thing where the FBI sweeps the vehicle, doesn't find the necklace. Frank Turk finds it laying on top of the computer bag. How did it get in the van after it's blown off of Charlie? Why are they saying these inconsistent details? So there is something there. I'm not sure what it means, Blake. Is it embellishment? Are they trying to create a feel-good story with the necklace? Is it just some sort of, like one of those little white lies to help people feel good about things? Maybe it's ultimately meaningless. Maybe it means something. But there is something weird going on with the necklace narrative. I completely admit that. There's something weird.
It's a subconscious psychological effect that they're trying to talk it into existence because it played such, and this is my opinion, okay? Like I said, it's just a minor dissent, that they're talking about it so often, and it's such a key part back in the early days because it was such a pivotal component. This was a subconscious psychological thing that they're doing. They're talking it into existence because they don't want anyone to focus in on the necklace. So the easiest thing to do and the thing to do is just start talking about it, that it's still in existence. It was found by Frank after the top dog law enforcement agency of the United States, the FBI, cleared the vehicle. And then Frank, investigator Frank finds it and hands it over to the police. Why they were looking for it? Why were they looking for it? I mean, what's the deal? Like, why?
There's a lot of oddity around it, but I do want to address your previous talking points about the entry wound, exit wound, the necklace mechanics of the possible explosion. I want to address your talking points there. Number one, here's why I don't think that the necklace exploded. Because if the necklace exploded, it destroys the necklace. But we can clearly see the swoop that goes up over his left shoulder. We can see clearly defined lines. That is because of the cross or the pendant is being pushed up into the shirt, pulled or pushed up into the shirt by the force, by a force. Okay. Now, if that is what had exploded, it would have obliterated that and would not have maintained a structural integrity to create that upward swooping shape. That's number one. Number two, it would have created a singe or a hole or some sort of explosion under the shirt. That's not what happens. It merely stretches the fabric and then relaxes. So I don't think that there is an incendiary device there. It would have made a hole. It would have destroyed the structural integrity of the pendant. It wouldn't have been able to create that swoop that then dissipated. I don't think the mechanics work. That's number one.
So percussive charge. There's gonna be some stuff coming tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that. So now that's number one. Number two, with respect to the entry wound or the wound appearing after the swoop, right? Like, well, if you look at the video that I have access to, maybe there's higher quality video that I haven't seen yet, but the video I've seen, his neck massively expands. It probably expands, maybe almost doubles in width. Okay, almost doubles in width, and the white T-shirt is drawn upwards, and his chin is like kind of down, and his entire neck area is covered. Okay, it's entirely covered as that swoop goes up over the left shoulder. Then the T-shirt comes down and relaxes. Then we see the wound. My point is we don't really get a good look at the neck before it gets covered over by the cavitation, shockwave, and the shirt. We don't get a good look at it before that. And what I will say is, if you watch in slow motion, Charlie's eyes close and his face kind of grimaces and goes blank first. Then you see the chest expansion and the T-shirt cover his neck and his neck expand. Then you see it relax down, and then you see the bloody hole. And so what I submit is, I think it's just an artifact of frame rates and camera quality that you don't see an entry wound, because it doesn't get captured, because it gets covered up by the shirt and the shockwave expansion first. And then when it relaxes, then you can see it. But you can see Charlie's eyes close and his face slightly wince or grimace before that shockwave expands and covers the neck. And I think that's the moment when the bullet has gone through and knocked him out.
Fair enough, man. Hey, Sam, I appreciate
No, absolutely. But listen, I'm willing to be wrong, folks. I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm laying out why I don't think this is correct. Now, here's what
we have a healthy marriage right here. We are talking, we're communicating healthily back and forth. This is what it's supposed to be about, not about just completely, going for, I don't want to say the neck, but just trying to kill the other opponent. That's not what this is about. But Ryan, last thing, and then I'm gonna say goodnight to everyone. Shinzo Abe, hot damn. That is wild, huh?
There's another parallel there, Blake, that Brian I didn't really bring out, but I don't blame you for this. The only other modern assassination that parallels the Charlie Kirk assassination is the Shinzo Abe assassination. And what I mean by that is, it was being live streamed to like hundreds of thousands or millions of people on the internet when he was giving that speech. And up until Charlie Kirk, that Shinzo Abe was the most public assassination in the history of the world. And so I think that he and Charlie Kirk kind of share something now, because Charlie's obviously worldwide mega platinum viral, right? And so they now are joined, they're joined at that, in that fashion too, being a 21st century assassination in front of the eyes of the world in real time.
Let me just throw it out there that you both could be right. If I was an intelligence agency, what would I do? I'd put Tyler Robinson up on the roof. I'd put a second shooter somewhere else. And backup number 3 is I'd put something small, explosive, not to kill him, but to throw him off balance, tackle him to the ground if the shot missed, and then put a bullet in him when he's on the ground. I don't think Charlie was out of there alive.
Could be, like, obviously could be, and I agree, you want to have a fail-safe or a backup plan, but I just see no evidence of an explosion anywhere. Like, there's no shirt singeing anywhere, there's no holes, you know, there just isn't anything like that. And I don't think, you know.
I think it's a fair point that both sides can agree on, that even if the necklace did explode, or in a sense, we can still be looking for another guilty party. And that's kind of, I don't think the people that, no, I don't either. The people that can't get past Rick Cutler, that can't get past the explosion, it could be something to throw them off balance to where they're going to tackle them on the ground, then put a bullet in them as a backup. So we can still be looking for somebody else.
I do think it's fruitful to keep going after the necklace, as we said. There's a lot of strange conflicting talking points about it. It is very weird. Blake brings up a lot of good points. And okay, maybe there was some sort of necklace explosion to create a distraction or something. It's sort of like oddly synchronized with the shot to the neck. Also, I don't think the necklace, if it did explode, could possibly be responsible for the cavitation shock wave that undulates through Charlie's body, reverts out his neck, down his back, up through his chest, and out and through his neck. It's far too expansive for an external percussive explosion to create that effect. Like I think the only thing that can create that effect is like a higher energy round entering through his neck or somewhere in his upper torso, right? That creates that massive Stay Puft Marshmallow expansion, if you will. I'm not trying to be crass, I'm just trying to be descriptive for people, because that's what he looks like when he expands. He looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for an instant. And the last thing I want to say about this is, remember, folks, this all happens in the matter of a few milliseconds. Now, a camera with a frame rate of 60 frames per second, that's about 17 milliseconds per frame. And this entire shockwave episode probably only lasted about between 10 and 20 milliseconds. So this is why we have a couple angles where we see like a couple views of the cavitation shockwave, because, you know, it was basically, it got caught on, like, this camera caught it on that frame and that camera caught it on another frame. And so we have like 2 or 3 frames of it. So it is kind of herky-jerky. It's hard to figure out, but even if the necklace is exploding, it can't create that overpressure expansion that we see that fills Charlie, right? It can't do that. So at best, it's a secondary device or some sort of supplementary action to go along with the main event, if that makes sense.
It would explain his shirt, though, wouldn't it? The bullet explains the body and the.
Well, I think that, yeah, the pendant obviously swings up under the shirt in that swooping over the left shoulder fashion. That is absolutely the pendant doing that. I think that's the pendant doing that. I mean, nobody's been able to explain what else it could be. And in my video, if you watch, you can see the other side of the necklace whip around the right side of his head. It whips around, and then it falls down dangling, with the other end still attached right underneath the shirt collar. And so I have interpreted that as it's acting as sort of like a grappling hook, right? It's this pendant or this cross, the end of it, that's still caught inside the shirt, and the rest of the chain is dangling down. And so that's another reason why I don't think it's exploded, because the chain doesn't actually fully leave Charlie's body. It's still caught in his shirt. It's still caught because the pendant's still caught. And the pendant's still caught because the pendant hasn't been destroyed. Right? It hasn't been destroyed by an explosion or a blast. Right? That's how I see it. Could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's tap in with John, and I think that's the last hand. Joe, I don't know if your hand was up or not.
Yeah, it's up, and I shared this video with Ryan like 3 days in, and he retweeted it about about back of the shirt, because I don't know if Ryan, if you remember that you had retweeted it. Sam, I don't know if your theory is the bull came from the front or the back. Can you just clarify?
I have not taken a super hard position on that. I'm allowing that to play out, but I think there's no question that there is some sort of high velocity round that had to have entered him to create the Stay Puft effect, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not taking a solid 100% position yet on the angle or site of entry. Or an exit on that, yeah. I'm not taking a hard position. I suspect it did come from the front at an angle, at a downward angle. That's my suspicion. But I am not, like, forever married to that theory.
Okay. Here's my theory. And I shared this with Ryan really early, like 3 days in, and then actually had a friend do a test to see if I was correct. Because the necklace does fly off of it, but it flies off from the front to the back. Right?
It whips around. Yeah, the right side whips around, right?
Yeah, we did that several times to see what would happen. And it only happens if you shoot it from the back. That it like breaks and whips, because the chain would whip, right? And it whips upward and then over his head. Plus, if it came in from the front, there's no chain where his neck is hit, right? And then number 3 is, if you look at your ballistics gel video, right, where does it puff up? At the entry or at the exit?
Oh, I would say it's negative.
At the exit. The back
right, and that's why his back is blown out, because that's like, of course it doesn't exit, but that is where the exit would be.
Hello, mister.
Hi there. Would you like to sign my petition?
I'm your new roommate. Haven't you heard?
Not a chance.
Well,
His back expanding outwards, and his chest expanding outwards, and his neck expanding outwards. We have views of all 3 of those.
Yeah, the back of his shirt is the first thing to move, right?
That's right, and that's what jerks. That's what imparts a backwards force on the chain first.
Okay, could be. Okay, I'm not saying it's not. I believe it's the entry. Okay, because the chain starts to whip. The chain starts to whip before you see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Mannequin, right? And I believe you see the back of the first, and then his neck.
Yes, I think that's roughly correct. But here, let me just explain the mechanics of how where I'm disagreeing with you. Think about it. Think about a toilet paper roll. You know how a toilet paper roll is big and heavy, and if you pull the toilet paper out slowly, it's fine. But if you go quickly, it tears away from. If you go quickly, it tears, right? And what happens is you have this pendant that's slightly heavier than the gold chain. Okay, and when you have the overpressure that goes out his back, it's moving at 1,500 meters per second, that overpressure shockwave. It's moving at 1,500 meters per second, okay? And it jerks the chain violently and quickly backwards. But then in the course of 1 or 2 more milliseconds later, it's then moving, shockwave is now moving forward into the front like a balloon, and it's imparting a forward force on the pendant and an upward force. So the junction between the pendant and the chain is subject to 2 opposite forces, one throwing the pendant forward and the other one jerking the chain backwards independently. And that creates an unequal, that creates a torque at the weak point where the chain meets the pendant. And that's where it tears away. And that's why you see the one side that tears away whip around his head, and the other side that tears away with the pendant whips up into the shirt. Like Newton's law, equal and opposite reactions. One side whips one way, and the other side with the pendant whips the other way.
But Sam, I want to just do a test with me, okay? Put one finger where his entry was on your neck, right? And put another finger where your necklace lies. And what does that angle look like to you?
I'm not sure what angle you're referring to.
It can't be from a rooftop.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
If you look at the bullet entry, if it's an entry from the front, and you put your finger on your neck, like right around the place where he got shot, okay, and you put the back of your finger where the neck is, okay, you'll see that it's actually a little bit higher than where the actually entry wound is. So that means someone would have to be lower than him to shoot him, which I don't believe happens.
I understand what you're saying. Here's the problem. We can't, because of the slow frame rate of the camera, we can't actually be certain where the shockwave originates from. We have to remember that it's undulating in many directions at not simultaneously. But there is a definite pattern that it goes from high to low and from back to front, right? And so that's what the pattern seems to be. We can't determine it. And so I submit that the best explanation for the shockwave that's going back and downwards and then expanding back to the front is because a bullet is coming down into the neck in a downward direction that gets deflected down into the chest cavity. That's carrying the shockwave first out the back of the neck, then undulating down the back, and then reverberating back to the front and up.
Yeah, I think the only place we disagree, Sam, is you believe the body is what caused the back of the shirt bottom, like lower than that neckline. You believe it's the body that's creating that shockwave, and I believe
the body doesn't create it. The bullet creates the shockwave. The body is being expanded by hydrostatic pressure, imparted by the kinetic energy of the bullet.
But his back moves first 2 times. His back moves first up top, and the puffing.
Yes, and then it undulates downward. Right. So yeah, we're saying the same thing. So I don't understand where the disagreement is. It starts at the top back of the neck and then goes downward.
So why wouldn't that be a shot from the back then?
For all the reasons we just said, because when you shoot ballistics, Joe, you get the big blowout. And Blake's right. You do have this little bit of back blow in the front, but you get the big blowout in the back along the direction of exit, right?
Right, which to me I think is his
which
neck.
Which means the bullet's coming from the front and going towards the back. Now, I'll tell you another piece of evidence.
Hold on, let me just make a point before you do.
Yeah.
To me, the gel is an example of what happens to the body, not just the shockwave, right? In the body, right, you see his neck puff up in the front, not in the back.
It actually expands, I think, in 360 degrees. If you look at different angles, the whole thing gets wider. Like,
yeah, I'll look
yeah.
again. But if you look at the angle of the entry and where the chain would have been that broke, if it's from the back, it makes more sense someone behind him in that tunnel shoots, or otherwise it would have to be someone in the audience in that on the ground level of the pit that shoots, right? It's only one of the
I'm still, like I said, I haven't taken a hard position. This is my hypothesis, so could be. Here's the other reason why I think the bullet is traveling front to back. If you look at the camera angle that's straight to Charlie's left, where we see that wonderful view of the chain whipping around and then dangling down towards the ground. If you look at that camera view, and you go frame by frame by frame, for several consecutive frames, I don't know how many, more than a dozen, Charlie's head and body are consistently moving backwards, and there's double exposures from frame to frame to frame, so you can see, with the double exposure and motion blur, that his body and head and everything is consistently moving backwards, frame by frame by frame by frame for several frames, like perhaps dozens of frames. It's consistently moving backwards. So that to me tells me that the momentum of the impact is carrying him backwards, which suggests a shot from the front. This is why it goes in. You see the shockwave first erupt out the back, and then reverberate back to the front.
Okay. Yeah, I mean.
Okay. We've covered this topic. We got a lot of hands. A lot of people want to jump up in here. We can talk about bullets shooting sideways all day long, but let's throw some hands up in here. Joey, we're going to bring you up next. And let's jump over. So if you guys have been up here, Jonah, you got a question? If not, I got 500 hands that want to come up here, so I'm going to cycle through some people. Go ahead, Joey. What's up, brother? Or what about Josh? Josh, jump in here. Or John, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, my question is, I hear the word Jews used so much that I'm just wondering, like, how you differentiate between, say, employees of intelligence agencies, active duty intelligence soldiers, versus using like stereotype terminology. At like what point do you realize, okay, I'm making bigoted statements, generalizations, versus I'm actually an investigative journalist documenting espionage? What's the silver lining of that conundrum?
Okay, start with if they're Jewish, you can't fucking trust them, right? So like, if they're Jewish, doesn't matter what organization, what entity, what government organization. It's just you're a Jew. I don't trust you. So like, we just start there. Everything you say, I think is a lie, and I don't trust you. I don't know how else to better say it. It's just they're just Jews. It's just that. It doesn't get Jews. They're just untrustworthy. They're stinky. They're smelly. They're kind of fucking ugly. And that's just how they are. They're inbreds. I don't know how else to explain it. Ian, you want to jump in on that?
But Ryan, let's take that's a quote unquote a lower IQ take, and that's not a pejorative. It's just being descriptive. Like that's sort of a low hanging fruit take. Let's take the higher road take, the Cyanine. Some of you know about the Cyanine, which is basically a worldwide Mossad intelligence program